harass down something like an Ornn, and it makes me wonder whether or not you want to play Azir into Gangplank in that top lane, if that's where Dan takes the Gangplank in the end.
Might. I know Huni was a big fan of playing the Azir in the top lane, but right now it's looking like the Maokai in the top into the Gangplank. I'm not a massive fan of it because, as I mentioned, I think you give the Gangplank a very easy lane to allow him to scale up once he gets the Trinity Force. I mean, even at level 1, 2, and 3, he's just going to bully that Maokai out of the lane. And you can also use your oranges to remove the root from the W of the Maokai. And I think that kind of when we look holistically from Misfits comp, very strong team fighting. They have very strong lanes and great gank setup, especially in mid and bot lane. I would imagine that by going for the Galio, the bot lane is where we're going to see the primary of their ganks for Misfits, and we'll have to see how much freedom Febiven is going to get in this 1v1, because against an Azir, you're going to struggle against the high pressure that this champion will provide with the soldiers constantly coming out, applying that poke, and overall just being obnoxious. But I do like the Misfits comp a lot. I think it has a lot of options. I think it has great scaling, and I think that pairing up an Azir with the Lee Sin, while it does give you pressure because you're playing into an Ornn, I don't think it's going to give Schalke what they want in terms of early game power. And I think that because the jungler is going to fall off, their late game is going to struggle against the comp from Misfits. So we'll see how they handle that pressure. Because I think that unless they find a good early game lead, this is going to be a difficult fight for them from the mid game onwards.
And Schalke, that's where they've struggled. Like, they're very good at holding teams and making teams work for it, but the late game decision making tends to be what lets them down. Like, they've been backdoored a couple of times, once against Mad, once against Origin. We've had times they've got an Elder and a Baron and still lost the game. So if that is where this composition falls down, I am a little bit worried for them. And of course, Misfits sit a lot higher up the standings than them. They're battling for 4th place right now. Schalke should be a win. Misfits should be able to beat Schalke. The question is whether Schalke can pull something out of the hat, something like this Maokai that could work into the Misfits composition.
Yeah, so I just got note that there is a brief pause. Some of the players are sorting out their settings. Of course, playing in a very different environment, making sure that everyone is comfortable and in a position to be set up for success is very important. So in the meantime,
I've got something I want to talk about in the meantime.
Oh, tell me, Medic.
So on Twitter this week, Andy, you have regaled us with facts about certain animals, about owls. And you told me before we started the broadcast, hey, Medic, I've got some owl facts ready. Can we get Owlius to regale us with some more facts?
Okay, so I was doing some more research on this, right? Because obviously I've only got so many owl facts, okay?
Yeah.
But
is there a limited supply in the world?
No, there are so many owl facts, my friend. And I'm about to give you a real fun
Blow
one,
my mind.
Okay?
Blow my mind.
The world's largest owl is called the eagle owl. Its nickname is the Bubo Bubo, okay?
Who?
The largest owl in the world is
I was doing owl sounds. Got him.
You got me. Good one. Great one, Medic.
Okay.
Right. So it's a European eagle owl. It's extremely large, right?
I'm gonna have to interrupt you, Andy, because I believe we're going into the intro. And I'm sorry, guys, that is all we're going to hear from Owlius today. There won't be a moment's break.
No. We're getting into game. We got a quick second. The important fact that I've got to give you. He has a wingspan, right? The eagle owl has a wingspan of 5 foot, right? So that is half the length of Tyler 1 for comparison, right? That's pretty long.
That's pretty big, yeah.
You're right. So that's just what I wanted to throw out there. Insanely large wingspan. So yeah, very, very large owl. Anyway, let's talk about the game, Medic. I already talked about at length how I think Schalke's comp, their mid-jungle synergy in particular, is something that I'm a little concerned about. Mainly because when you have a champion like Lee Sin, he wants to look for skirmishes, he wants to invade early, he wants to try and fight. When you pair him up with a champion like Azir, this is a champion that wants to scale, wants to primarily stay in lane, wants to farm, wants to make sure that those core itemizations are completed. So you kind of have two different champions that want to do different things, but the dynamic changes slightly when you're playing against someone like an Ornn, because the Azir can get that early priority. As you can see in this mid lane matchup, he's very quickly pushing through these waves, and Ornn can't really approach the wave. This does mean that Abadage will be able to get priority and offer protection and safety for the Lee Sin, should the Lee want to invade, but the Azir's probably still not going to want to skirmish. This means that the Azir, the Lee rather, probably has to make a lot of these plays isolated and just has to keep an eye on the minimap and see who could look to collapse and where will he be able to get support from.
We'll see if Lorax is able to play around with his laners like that, because he hasn't actually played the Lee Sin so far this split, and he's also, in my opinion, struggled a little bit. Devo's actually ignited here in the bottom lane. Denick rooted up as well. No summoners burnt from the Misfits bot lane, but they are being forced out as Inax and Dreams hit level 2 first. And it actually, even with the Dawn Shield, Bevo is going to be half health, or at least chunked out for a while here.
Yeah, really good trade from the Schalke bot lane. I think that what we're seeing here is, you already talked about it, the very early level 2 coming out from Schalke gave them a great opportunity to be able to force this early fight. They are able, well, they don't actually burn any summoner spells on the side of Misfits, but they're going to put them in a huge health disadvantage. Which again, now we get to see Lorax set up for that invade. So notice on the minimap, Azir has the push in lane, the bot lane also has the push, and this then gives the freedom for Lorax to look for these 1v1s, try and go for these trades against Razor, and he's going to be forced to lose some of his jungle camps. So I like what Lorax is doing. Yes, he's independent, he's not necessarily working with his team. It's like a 2 versus 1 situation, but he's using his pressure well, and he's trying to put that Gragas behind using this early pressure.
Yeah, cleared his entire topside jungle as well, so Razork can't even look to go in there and steal away the Krugs to answer. Razork is just going to have to settle for a Scuttle Crab. Now, Lorax is still around that bottom lane. Pings come out onto him. He has been spotted out, so he'll just do the Krugs. And B-Boy and Denick might be looking just to force him out, trying to save some of those Krugs for their jungler, which is what they'll do. But actually, as I said, Razork's not going to find anything in the topside jungle. Those Krugs are going to respawn pretty soon, and he can go and collect them as Dan has pushed in the way.
You can see that a dive was being threatened in the top lane, but a little dangerous to dive a Maokai, or there's Maokai, but it's like a Maokai in the top lane, largely because he does have the W to be able to become invulnerable and avoid any damage output, but on top of that, his passive gives him a surprising amount of healing. So when you're trying to set up this dive, he can end up having a lot more health than you anticipate. When you pair that up with the Aftershock, Maokai is pretty challenging to dive, especially when you have a GP in the early levels. You don't want to risk it. So Dan going to create a cheetah recall situation. He's going to go back to base. He's going to very quickly buy a Cull and the Mana Crystal, and he's going to be pretty happy. So Misfits in the top lane feeling pretty comfortable. Mid lane at a slight deficit, but it's very much what you expect. The Ornn is just going to do what he can to farm. Meanwhile, on the bot lane, due to that early trade, we can see that Inax and Dreams mainly have control over this 2 game.
In terms of farm, it's pretty much even. Lorax is on his way down here as Denick and B-Boy have pushed up the wave. Dreams might look for the hook. Gets the auto onto Denick, but he's going to Justice Punch his way away. I do want to talk about a little bit of tech you can do with Galio support, or with Galio in general. Nimbus Cloak. Nimbus Cloak is actually really cool to run on him, because of course you can't use your W and flash anymore. If you flash, you get that little bit of extra movement speed from Nimbus Cloak now, and it makes it a lot easier to land that taunt.
Yeah, I can see that. We see a bit of a gank happening in the mid lane right now.
Febiven's very low on health, has the flash. Sonic Wave connects and Febu was trying to flash away from it. Here comes Razork trying to keep his mid laner safe. Lorax flashes forward, Febu with the knock up, but he should fall. First blood is going to go over to Abadage. He secures it. Razork's going to try and chase Abadage back, but Lorax can jump back in. Razork very healthy still. Good play there from Schalke. Good gank from Lorax.
Honestly, a bit of a misplay between from the side of Misfits there, largely because Febiven needed to shove this wave underneath the tower. So you can see right now he has no mana, or not very much mana, and he just wants to get it under the tower so that Abadage doesn't freeze it. But in this situation, you need your jungler there to help cover for you, because the risk of a gank is real. He thinks he's safe because he sees Razork in the enemy blue side jungle, but he doesn't realize that Lorax is coming in through the river. So he ends up getting punished, he ends up losing his life, and Schalke end up finding themselves first blood.
Yeah, good kill from them. We wondered about which mid-jungle 2v2 would come out on top so far. It's Abadage and Lorax. Of course, it's still very early in the game, only 6 minutes in, but Schalke with a slight lead, about 900 gold ahead. as Razork is looking towards that top lane. As you said, hard to dive a Maokai. His passive comes off cooldown even quicker when you're attacking him. But he has used that Nature's Grasp. Takes a little bit of damage from Razork. Lorwak's on his way up as well. Going to meet the enemy jungler. Hits the Sonic Wave. Doesn't really want to go forward with that cube because, of course, the body slam can knock him out of it.
Odo is just also on his way from the mid lane. Lorwak showing that respect, but he has decided to start off the red buff. Misfits don't want to give this one away for free. Abadage started moving in, but here he comes.
Yeah, he was just trying to clear the wave that was underneath his tower. Should be a pretty easy secure now for Lorwak. So you can see Misfits are trying to do something, you know, they're trying to get Razork back in the game in good stead, but he is a level behind, and Lorwak is going to be able to get his full jungle and get towards that level 6. Even Danik coming up towards mid here, as they realize they need to make sure that Abadage doesn't get too far ahead, because as you said, that Azir damage later on in the game can be monumental here for Schalke.
Well, we also talked about how the early game is going to be really important for Schalke, largely because when we think about scaling, I think it's quite interesting, but you have Gangplank, you have the Ornn, you have Gragas, you have Varus. This is a very strong late game comp, and even though you have an Azir and the Aphelios, you have to think about how these late game fights play out. And the problem with Aphelios is he doesn't get to play the game when you're fighting against the Gangplank ultimate. It is so obnoxious. The amount of zone control that ulti creates means that the Aphelios is just going to get zoned away, and it's going to be very difficult, which means Misfits can just play front to back. And they can even threaten the backline because of how long range the Ornn ultimate is. The Razor Gragas ultimate is going to cause a huge amount of disruption, and like the more you think about it, the more you can see how difficult it's going to be for Schalke to actually play the 5v5, which is why getting this early lead was very important, because they do have late game options, and if they can get to their item spikes a little bit before the Misfits can, then they can look to force those fights a little bit earlier, and they can be better set up for success.
Totally agree with you, Betty. I think Schalke will be relying on getting these early game leads, but I don't want to discount what they can do in later fights as well, because they do actually have quite a lot of good disengage tools for that long range engage and for those AoEs. You've got Nature's Grasp, right? If you see a Call of the Forge God coming out, you just chuck the Maokai ultimate in the same direction and it stops anyone coming forward towards you. You've got the Emperor's Divide, you've got the Depth Charge, you've got the Dragon Range Kick from Lorwak. Like, if Misfits don't coordinate their engage properly, Schalke can disengage them quite well.
For sure. You're absolutely right. I think that one of the big things that could also determine the fight is how this Galio ultimate is used.
Oh,
and the
definitely.
Fact that there is an exhaust on the side of Danik as well. I think this summer spell has been very valuable as we see a gang setup in the top lane.
There's the Nature's Grasp, flash away, but that cats are going to chase down. The root comes out, the Sonic Wave going to connect as well as the Cannon Barrage comes in, but Lorwak will be able to walk away from that. Good play from Schalke. 2-0 up, 10 minutes in the game. Razork's looking for something, but he's on a ward. Predator coming in. Odo could just act as a body block, but a great flash from Razork over him. Odo's going to heal up with that Sap Magic, getting knocked back. Odo has no mana here, and Febi's on his way up as well. Odo flashes away, giving a bit of respect to the Misfits jungler.
So it ends up being 1-for-1 overall. You get to see some of the power of Maokai with his lane setup. Gank setup rather, even though the Gangplank used the oranges to get out of the W from the Maokai. The ultimate follow-up is there, even after flashing away, Dan couldn't escape, and then the Lee Sin damage was more than enough to help secure that kill. But a really good response from Razor, recognizing he had a huge health advantage. He also had the flash available, and he was able to lock down Lorwak and secure himself a kill. He's going to need that, especially seeing as the pressure that he was put into earlier put him at a slight deficit. He's still a level down, and they're looking to start off this Rift Herald, but Abadage wants to try and answer.
This is dangerous. He's in the 3v1 right now. Of course, can just jump across the wall. Here's the Call of the Forge God. Trying to force Abadage away. Doesn't flash away. The Bishop's going to lock him up. Emperor's Divide, he doesn't get over the wall. He has to flash. Febi was on the chase. Lorwak's coming in from the bottom side of this as well as he looks to steal away the Rift Herald, but can't find it. That was greedy from Abadage. I really feel he should have just given that. Oh, okay. That Sonic Wave was not in the direction you wanted it to go, Lorwak. So.
All right, he's just going to disengage from that one. But I want to give a shout out to what Febivan did in that play as we very quickly jump into a replay. Oh, we're going to see a gank of the top lane. Dan drops a ward, but he doesn't actually spot out the jungler or the Rift Herald, who just slyly dodges away from that one. And this is kind of reinforcing what we were talking about. The oranges does come through from Dan, but the follow-up ulti from Odo on there was more than enough crown control to set that up. Now, if it wasn't for GP ultimate, Lorwak might not have been as low. We've seen another fight in the mid lane. Febivan, no flash, of course, will result in his demise. So Schalke, being very proactive in this early game, will find their third kill of the game. Really impressed with what I'm seeing from Lorwak right now, because honestly, over the last few weeks, he's been one of my biggest points of criticism for the team. I think a lot of his engages and a lot of his early games have kind of been non-existent. But this game, he's been very active. He's looking to punish the enemy jungler as much as he can. And so far, he's been involved in every single kill of the game.
It's fabled, Vedius. Is this alcove gameplay from B-Boy and Denick? You see it once in a millennia.
Oh, they've seen the Lord. They know.
Alcove gameplay. Oh, the Chain of Corruption didn't hit. Chain of Corruption didn't hit. Oh, B-Boy, you have let all of the alcove gamers in the world down. Oh,
I mean, couldn't you have just ulted from the alcove? That would have hit, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Right, look, alcoves are a mysterious being, Vedius. Who knows? Who knows?
Who knows? Well, no alcove gameplay for Daniel.
There was. It just wasn't very effective gameplay.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough. We'll have to see if they can remedy that later on, as we can kind of see that Schalke have a pretty healthy 2k gold lead right now. Definitely a great position for them to be in. I think if we're able to look at the gold, we can see that a lot of that is sitting on top of Abadage right now. He has about a 2k gold advantage, and I imagine he's going to be rushing towards the Nash's Tooth, something that we see a lot in terms of first itemization for the Azirs. And once he's got that, I mean, he's actually already got that. He's going to be feeling very strong. You only really need one more item to be online, and I'm curious as to whether or not it will be a Ludens, or if we'll see something more like a Leandries, who may see an earlier Oblivion, or sometimes I've even seen Death Caps come out second from some Azir players, just to make sure they get as much AP as possible, as quickly as possible.
Odo.
We do see a gank in the top lane.
Yeah, Odo has no flash pops at the Nature's Grasp, trying to dodge away here. Razork's holding on to
is he going to solo kill him?
I don't think he can solo kill him, but he was very close. The barrel is still there. Explosive cast for Razork will knock Odo back. Now Odo's looking for that sap magic, goes in with the twisted advance again. The knockback. Oh, Razork almost died. Odo, that was almost beautiful. Put him on a tank, he can almost take your life, but in the end, Misfits get the kill and they'll put down that Rift Hold in the top side.
Odo Omni's many years of Maokai experience coming in there. Almost getting that kill on Razor. We'll see another gank happening in the bot lane.
Oh, Denick's Justice Punch was blocked there. Kicked back, giving the kill over to In, actually. As you say, Odo tried to make a dog champ into a god champ there for a moment, but wasn't quite able to do it. The Rift Hold coming in, charging for this second turret in the top lane, as Lorux is on at the bottom side, and Odo's still a couple of seconds away from coming up, so this might be a second turret just going down in the top lane for Misfits.
You would imagine so. Odo Omni going to hold on to his TP, but the minion wave isn't big enough, so they're just going to be happy with the play. I'm curious as to whether or not Schalke will successfully be able to take the bot tower. It looks like they won't, and unfortunately for them, they have to reset. They need to go back to base, spend their gold, get back out on the map as quickly as they can. Otherwise, they're going to be very behind on tempo, and they're not going to be in a great position moving forward. So I think that the choice was correct from the side of Schalke, but of course they're not able to successfully make the cross-match play happen by not securing that tower. So the goal gap is going to close a little bit. Schalke, though, still in a pretty comfortable position with both the mid laner and AD carry feeling very strong right now.
And it looks like Abadage is going to go towards the Leandries here. Against so many tanks in the Ornn, the Galio. I mean, Gragas isn't really a tank, but it does give you that little bit of extra tick damage, as you can try and chunk people out when the fight goes on. Schalke have the Mountain. They picked that up just a moment ago, so they're actually in a very good position to look for Drakes this game as well. And with it being Ocean, that is a very impactful soul to have.
Definitely is. Misfits right now in a great position for it. Looking at TPs, Danan has his TP, Odo Omni as well. Odo Omni actually putting a little pressure on that TP, rather than looking for Abadage. And I'm thinking about right now, something that Schalke have to be careful of is how they approach this Drake. We talked a lot earlier on in the game, the amount of zone control and AoE engage that Misfits have. Speaking of AoE engage, they were looking for a bit of it there. And that makes entering this area of the map very difficult. Because of all the choke points, you're kind of clumping up into one area to allow Misfits to land all of their AoE abilities onto you, which you naturally want to...
Oh, Razork missed the flash! Emperor's Spike comes out, Call of the Forge God doesn't hit either, and here comes Lorux on the chase, but Fevy's going to be able to Searing Charge away. Sonic Wave hits on Razork, but not going to follow it up. And yeah, Razok missed the flash, then the Call of the Ford God missed, and Schalke able to walk away from that one pretty easily. And now with Oda1 coming in from the side, Bebby does have flash, has the exhaust of the Unsealed Spell, but here comes the Nature's Grasp. Dreams coming in, they flash forward, the lockdown onto Razok is absolutely beautiful. And there goes the Dredge line as well. They're trying to take down Forbidden before he can get away, but in comes Danik, looking for the taunt, already to have fallen. They could even get 3 here, but Dan on the chase. Odo trying to get away with the twisted advance, can't quite do it. Ends up being a 1-2 trade in favor of Schalke.
Props to Schalke. I was really impressed with the execution of that dive. When you sit there and think, whoa, are you really going to try and dive with Ornn? Do you think that's the smartest thing to do? They make it look flawless. They very cleanly take down Razor first. They eliminate the damage, and then like, okay, the tank is up next. They use Dreams to tank most of the damage, and wow, when we get a look at the replay, we can really break down how the execution was done, but Medic, this does not look like a Schalke that sits in last place. This is the kind of team
I love it so much.
Creating chaos, and like this is not the normal early game that we see from Schalke. And again, I want to give so much credit to Lurox. This is the man that's making the difference. Normally,
B-Boy. B-Boy cannot hit a chain of corruption for love nor money, but Dream's still locked up in the taunt. However, they just walk away. They don't even have to burn a summoner there. I do want to say Danik hasn't taken Nimbus Cloak. He's gone Hex Flash on the Galio, which makes sense as well, but we'll see that dive once again.
Yeah, let's have a look. So you can see Odoame coming in from the flank. He's just abandoning the top wave. Lurox flashes in, lands the Q with the kick to make sure he gets as much damage as possible, but crucially the root locks up the Maokai so that, the Ornn rather, so that he can't interfere or interrupt onto Lurox. Meanwhile, Dreams is just tanking it up. The moment that Danik flashes over the wall to threaten, Dreams has the stopwatch, which means that Odoame then takes the tower aggro, which is the correct target, but then of course they can't do anything about Dan flashing over the wall and securing that kill. So the management of tower aggro, the stacking of crowd control, the target focus, everything about that dive, very well done from Schalke, and it's very nice.
And we're now getting up towards the next fight of the game as well, because the Ocean Dragon is up in just 20 seconds, and we wondered how Schalke would approach it. Well, they're coming in all guns blazing. Call of the Forge God's not going to hit, but Lorlox has a great flank position here and has the Dragon's Rage. Looking for Danik, puts down the taunt. Lorlox can't really jump into that, but Schalke able to force Misfits back. And you wonder who else is looking at this game and rubbing their hands greedily right now, because Mad Lions just took a win. Rogue and XL yet to play today. Of course, XL probably not likely to catch up with Misfits, but Rogue will be looking at that 4th place spot. Makes it so much easier to get through playoffs. It gives you double elimination. 5th and 6th only have 1 chance. If they lose, they're out of playoffs. Anything above 4th has 2 chances, 2 bites at that apple. And if Schalke can play spoiler and take a win off a team like Misfits, Rogue and Mad will be so happy.
It certainly will be. We can see that Misfits was able to trade the Rift Herald for the Ocean Drake, but Schalke now setting themselves up for that Fort Drake win condition. And when you have a Maokai with Ocean Soul, he's not going to die. He just won't. Medic, that tree will not be cut down. He will not be broken. And I think it's going to make team fighting, like it's going to change the landscape of team fighting quite a lot.
The tree will change the landscape, will it?
Yeah, you heard. It was a subtle joke.
It was not subtle. It was not
quite proud
subtle.
of. Yeah.
You can be proud, but it wasn't subtle. I will leave it there.
The thing about the comp that we have from Misfits. No. The thing about the comp that we have from Misfits is we talk a lot about their long-range engagement, their ability to set up fights from a distance, and also their ability to create a huge amount of disruption. All of this is still very valid. And when we think about how these fights are executed, I think the positioning of Inax and Abadage is going to be crucial, because if they can somehow skirt around the Gangplank ultimate. Actually, when we think about it, Misfits will have to play this team fight front to back, right? In an ideal world, you drop the Gangplank ultimate, Inax and Abadage are zoned away, which means that you can then just kill the front line, and with the front line gone, you can then follow. That's usually what front to back means, right? The problem is, Odoame might be so tanky that they can't kill him fast enough, which means that Abadage and Inax can then rejoin the fight. And because of how strong they currently are, they may be able to turn those fights in their favor, especially with the gold lead that they're currently sitting on. But just look at the goal differences between the mid and AD carries. It is pretty dramatic. Now, while the Gangplank does have a huge advantage over Maokai, that doesn't matter. Maokai doesn't need gold. Maokai just needs experience and levels, and he's got a lot of his core itemization. And the more gold that he does get over time, the more value he's going to bring. But he's basically just a utility bot. So
Can can I just give you the argument that Ornn is a utility bot in that situation as well?
I mean,
so
of course.
maybe we should compare Dan and Abadage in terms of gold, and they're pretty even right now.
That's very true. That's very, very true. So this is the interesting thing, right? Because you have two big tanks that you're going to have to try and fight through in the form of the Ornn and the Maokai. You're going to have a lot of AoE crowd control that you're going to have to get through, things like the Gangplank ultimate and the Gragas ultimate. Conversely, you're going up against the Nautilus ult and the Azir ultimate. So I think that execution in these fights is going to be really important, but it's that Gangplank ultimate that I think is going to have the largest impact. How heavily will it zone Inax in these upcoming fights? Because if he can't deal damage, same for Abadage, then the fight is obviously going to be quite one-sided.
Totally agree with you there, Vedius. And we are starting to see upgrades come out from Forbidden. He just hit level 13, so he's got an upgraded Abyssal Mask and a Sunfire Cape, of which you can make your own name. So we've got a little pause here, obviously, as we get things rectified. We'll find out what the issue is. But Vedius, Sunfire Cape, upgrade, choose a name, any name.
Isn't it like really hot cape?
No, I'm not. A really hot cape.
Yeah.
Sounds like a cape I would wear.
Wow.
Yep.
Really?
So you can't wear it because heroes don't wear capes, right? And you're a hero, obviously.
Oh, am I? Is that how you're going to transition out of this?
I'm going to give you a compliment. You allow me to have the compliment. What's bigger than an Abyssal Mask?
If I compliment someone else, that means that I'm allowed to compliment myself. That's how compliments work, right?
Vedius, you've got to be proud of yourself, right? That's an important bit.
Oh man!
Okay. Like no one else is complimenting me right now, you know. I look at the,
I'm literally all I've got.
I'm like, Medic, you're cool. It's like, yes, you are.
So you're kind of like so if you're wearing the super hot cape, maybe I can wear the super chill gauntlet, you know, the
wait, no, it's Abyssal Mask. You have to rename an Abyssal Mask. Maskius. It's like the movie. It's like the mask, right? You see this mask on the ground.
Yeah, okay, where's he going to go with this?
Let's see. This mask on the ground as Vedius, and then you pick it up and you put it on and you become Maskius. Somebody stop him. Whoa.
From what? What do they need to stop me from?
I don't know, being more characters in the Vedius cinematic universe. I do feel that like there is a limit. At some point, we can only make so many spin-offs. Yeah,
you know they said that about Avengers. Yep, they're still going.
They did stop making Avengers movies.
So what you're saying is we need a Vedius endgame. That's what we need. Okay.
And if we could get it quickly, that would be great.
Wow. All right, it's nice.
Yeah. All right. As we are in a pause, I do want to just remind people of how important this game is for Misfits. They're sitting at 9-5 at the moment, which is equal with Rogue in terms of win-loss. But they actually had lost both their games to Rogue this split. So if they are equal win-loss with Rogue at the end of the split, they would be in second place in that two-way tie, and Rogue would be ahead of them because of the head-to-head record. So making sure you are one win ahead of Rogue is vital for Misfits. And taking a win off a team like Schalke, when your upcoming games are Mad, Vitality, and G2, you know, Schalke and Vitality are the, in inverted commas, easier games there, whereas G2 and Mad are much more likely to put up a challenge. Oh,
for sure.
I say that Schalke are putting up a pretty big challenge right now, so perhaps I'm undervaluing Schalke a tad.
For sure. I mean, Schalke have proven to be that team that creates a lot of... I always phrase it incorrectly. They make the game difficult. They've always made the game difficult for teams. Usually, though, it's in the mid game because I feel like that their laning has actually not been that strong over the last few weeks, especially, except outside of Odoamne, probably. But their mid game, where they're really good at punishing mistakes, I feel like that they're very good at. They usually draft in a way where they actually have pretty good scaling, so they often have late game insurance anyway. But this game, they've been very active in the early game. And, you know, again, I want to really draw attention to Lurox because I think that he's having a very impressive game. I think he's been involved in most, if not all, of the kills so far for Schalke. And I think that he's just playing around pressure very well. He set up some great early invades. He ganked lanes that were gankable. He punished the mistakes from Misfits, and he's having a great game. So it's nice to see Lurox having that comfort and performing to an ability that I think the team expected of him when they brought him in over Gilius.
Yeah, and I wonder if that little bit of extra time just to work on synergy has helped Schalke a little bit. I do have an update. At the moment, the players are having some issues with their communication. So communication software is probably how I should word that instead of just normal communication. They are currently sorting out a fix for that, and we'll be back on into the game as soon as we can.
Yeah, thank you for bearing with us, everyone. As you can understand, our circumstances are a little unique, and we're just kind of rolling with the punches. But everything is
Okay.
going.
Okay. I appreciate you giving the fans a message here, but I have a bugbear about a little unique, right? And because we have the time now, we're going to go into this.
Oh, no.
What is the definition of unique?
What do you mean?
It means one of a kind.
Which is, yeah, this is a one of a kind. Yeah,
so can something be a little unique? Can it be a little bit one of a kind? No.
Yeah, but
it is a binary issue, Vedius. This is black or white.
Okay, but Medic,
it's either unique or not unique.
Yeah. Okay, Medic, listen. Usually in the English language, right, we often don't talk about the literary. Like, there's more like, what's the word? It's like the spirit of the.
You're talking about colloquialisms, right?
Yes, right. And so when you say,
however, unique is not a word that is colloquial.
Listen, Medic, relax, my friend, relax. We're in a comfortable environment right now. We can be very happy. We can be calm, right?
I'm very happy.
When you think about a little unique, what we're talking about is, it's in the context of like you're trying to reduce the amount of what's the word, like pressure, severity of the situation by going, oh, it's a little unique, you know, like
no, but you can use other words. You don't have to use unique, is my point. It's like me calling a big church a cathedral. A cathedral is a specific type of church. You can say, oh, that is a little cathedral if it is a little cathedral, but I can't call a big church a little cathedral. They are different things.
But I would understand what you meant if you had said a little cathedral, which is the point.
Well, I mean, understanding and being correct are two different things, Medic.
But that's the point. That's the great thing about language, Medic. You know, like I know what you mean, right? That's the thing.
You know what the best thing about languages, Vedios?
Tell me, Medic.
When you use it correctly.
Well, yeah, I think your standards for correct are just a little too high. Maybe you need to bring it down.
I found out I was using a word totally incorrectly for like I used it 4 or 5 different times. Was it
doctor? Was that?
It was litany. Litany. For some reason, I thought a litany was a lot of, when actually it's a specific like recital in a church. So. I don't know why I used that incorrectly. Anyway, back to...
the funny thing is...
No, we're not... Okay. Alphax. Do you have more Alphax?
That's my point. We have a choice between Alphax or literacy. We are great halftime entertainment, Medic. You can really see that people are just like, give me more Alphax or talk to me about English language.
Have you played any Ori and the Will of the Wisps while you've been...
I played the first one, but I know...
second one is amazing. There is an owl in it called Ku.
No spoilers, bro. No spoilers.
Yeah, no, it's not a spoiler. You meet it at the start. Okay, I have cried once.
Oh, thank God we're back into the game.
Yeah,
right, guys, we won't try to entertain you anymore.
Anyway,
just focus on the game.
Okay, so
catch the situation for it.
Schalke in the lead at the moment, about 2,000 gold ahead. They also have 3 dragons to their name, with the last ocean spawning in about 2 minutes. Abadage is big. Lorix has had a great game so far, and the Rift Herald has been used by Misfits mid lane. Now, Odo1 is pushing in the bot lane, but he does have teleport. The Rift Herald's going to come in. They're looking for Lorix, but a good flash away from him will get him to safety. The Rift Herald charges, but doesn't get the turret, and that is the recap. It was a little bit of a unique situation.
Good use of the language there. I like it. People understood. Now, you can see that Misfits trying to use their pressure to get some control over the river, but they're not managing their side lanes right now. You can see that top and bot, both those waves are just hitting the tower. This is gold just being thrown away, and Schalke, they can keep pressure up in the mid lane, which again allows them to actually maintain their control over the river. So this is just a win-win situation for Schalke. They keep their pressure, they lose 0 farm. Now the waves are actually pushing back towards them in both top and bot, which means that after their reset, they can catch those waves, push them out again, and be in a position to answer the Drake that is about to spawn. And because the top wave because it's so long and we're at 22 minutes in, we're almost at the point where a cannon minion spawns every single wave. That happens at about 25 minutes. When it does get to that point, the waves actually push very slowly, which means that Schalke don't actually have to deal with that top wave for ages. So they can actually just come straight back to mid. They can then make their way into the river, which they have full vision control of. You can see they've already reset, so if you look at their inventory, control wards across the board, the vision has been restocked by Dreams, and they're in a great position to be able to contest for this final ocean, which Misfits have to fight for.
Schalke trying to get deep mid fire as Razork comes in with the Predator. Call of the Forge God used, hit Screams and Abadage, but good knock up in response. The Moonlight Vigil comes out. Razork already down to half HP. Lorix trying to jump in. Here comes Odo. Nature's Grasp hits 2. Denik already dead. Razork down. Very low, about 400 HP on that Gragas. And Schalke once again get a kill, get out, and can now look for that Ocean Soul.
Yeah, so Misfits tried to force a bit of an awkward fight there because the mid lane tower was still up for Schalke, which means that they had a very safe space for them to retreat into, and that kind of forced Misfits to overcommit. Razor gets chunked out at the start of the fight, Denick doesn't even use his flash in the fight, and now Schalke, they're in a great position to secure the Ocean Soul.
I think Odo's going to try and lock up Razzle if he can. Dan, chunked out by Abadage. Razzle goes in. The explosive cast being used already. The Dragon's secured. Schalke get it. They get the kill as well onto Razzle. And this is great for Schalke. They're going to turn. They can go straight towards the Baron. That Ocean Drake's going to regen them very quickly.
Yeah, Schalke are playing near flawlessly right now. They played the early game extremely well. Lurox was all over the map. He was setting up a bunch of plays. You can see 100% kill participation. Abadagi was picking up a lot of the kills, and he was maintaining his lead very effectively. Odoamne playing well in the 1v1 in the top lane, good roams to set up dives, and now with such great Drake control, they're setting up for the Baron. This is a do or die fight for Misfits, otherwise they're going to lose control of the game.
Odo's ult is almost off cooldown. Denick already chunked out. Look at the damage coming out. You can see Dandor trying to answer with some barrels of his own, but that Baron is down to 2,000, and already the lockup on Febby. He has to flash away the Baron. He's not going to reset, and this should be it. They get it, Schalke. Ocean Soul, Baron secured, not losing a single player in that last sequence of plays.
Yeah, you can see that when the roles are reversed and Misfits have to walk into those choke points, Schalke also have just as much zone control with the Azir and with the Maokai as well. Misfits, they tried to force their way in, they tried to play that front to back, but without the Gangplank ultimate there to threaten the backline of Schalke, Schalke just melted through Febervin. He was forced to flash away, and Schalke now has probably been one of their most convincing games of the split. Schalke looking incredibly clean against the likes of Misfits.
And I know we've said it already, but Lorax is having the game of his split, in my opinion. 3-1 of 5, 100% kill participation, only lost 2 Rift Heralds, has secured 4 Dragons and the Baron, even when Razork has been around the pit for that final Dragon. This is great stuff from him. First time we've seen him on the Lee Sin, as far as I remember. And he's really showing us why he was brought into this Schalke team. And now, with the Baron, with the Ocean Drake, and with 2 lanes pushing in, Schalke are looking to keep this pressure up. They want to get as much out of this Baron as they can.
You know, it's one of those situations where, of course, players are playing from home, right? They're playing in their gaming houses or they're playing in that environment. And one of the questions that was brought up was, will these players be able to put on more of a scrim performance because they're not on a stage? Will they be able to avoid perhaps some of the stage jitters? And we could be seeing a situation here where Lurox, in his home environment where he's playing just with his team, there's no stage, there's no pressure of the crowd, maybe he just feels more comfortable, and that's allowing him to have much stronger performances right now, because he's definitely looking like a completely different player. His early game has been fantastic, and Schalke, as we jump very quickly into another pause, is just continuing to get closer and closer to the base of Misfits.
Yeah, we'll find out what the pause is for as soon as we can, obviously, and Misfits very much on the back foot here against Schalke. I mean, they said it on the analyst desk. They were wondering whether this could be an upset. Schalke have looked stronger week to week, in my opinion. And this is really the Schalke that many people were starting to see come to the front, showing just how strong they can be.
Yeah, and I think, again, you have to give props to Odoamne picking out the Maokai. I was concerned for it. I said it in the draft, said it at the beginning of the game. I was worried about how that matchup was going to play out because I felt like you were just going to give a free lane to the Gangplank. The thing I didn't appreciate was how strong the gank setup is and how you can actually just invest resources into that lane. Make sure you get the kills onto the Lee Sin so they can have more power in the early game. But if that Gangplank is going to keep pushing and keep being aggressive, you have so much crowd control, stacking crowd control, that you can easily set up plays. And that's what they did. They punished the top side of the map. They were able to bring that pressure from top side down into the mid lane and set up really good dives. And I just feel like Schalke, they won in the 2v2 bot lane. They had a winning match at mid that Abadage played very well. And then the one potential dangerous area in the top lane, they were able to correct for. So it feels like all across the board, Schalke played very well. But now they have to end the game. Now they've got to break into the base. And Schalke's not a team that's usually in this position. They're usually the one at a deficit. They're usually trying to defend their base. So let's see how cleanly they can close things out. The Baron still has about a minute and a half left on it. And so far they've been able to take down 2 tier 2 towers.
That gold lead is only growing piece by piece. 6,000 gold ahead now for Schalke. Odoamne's gone down to pick up the wave in that bottom lane. Treebeard leading the Hobbits to Isengard as he catches the minion wave and buffs them up with the Baron. And now, 3 waves pushing in. Not quite as coordinated as Schalke would have liked, but still, they've got cannons in each of these waves. As you say, they spawn every wave after the 25-minute mark. And this will be at least 3 turrets taken by Schalke off that Baron push.
Yeah, so can they use the Baron to break into the baseline? This is the big question. There's not much time left on the
I'm
Baron.
not sure.
They're pushing all 3 lanes right now. They have a wave top and bot, but Odoame is making his way mid. I don't think they should try and force a dive. I think that if they want to take the safe play, they should wait for the next Baron to spawn, or maybe even the Elder, which spawns in about 2 minutes' time.
Here we go. They're forcing. Nature's Grasp coming out, the sentry's put down, they're just looking for the turret. Dream's going forward, Moonlight Vigil's going to land as well, but here comes the corner of the Forge God. It's Misfits try and answer the pressure coming out from Schalke. Odo attacking the turret, but Dream's being caught out. Dreams is dead. Forbidden able to get away, the Ignite is tipping on him, but that's not going to be enough, and the turret wasn't focused by Schalke. They were looking for the kills, and instead, perhaps they won't even break open the turret. The sentry falls, and that tower still stands.
So there, Inax was too afraid to approach the tower. The Gangplank ultimate was right on top of the tower, and he was saying, no, I can't deal with this pressure, I have to back off, so they couldn't secure it. If Schalke had secured that tower, then they probably could have looked for a follow-up fight. They would have been in a better position. We get to see it in the replay now. Look at the positioning of the Gangplank ultimate. I love this ultimate usage from Odoame, mainly to zone Misfits away. They're saying back off, back away from the tower, but here, Schalke should be focusing the tower, but instead they're actually trying to go for the fight. Notice the positioning of the Inax, zoned completely away from the tower, not hitting it at all. Same for Abadage, and because they're not able to hit that structure, that means that Misfits can just focus the front line. And in an ideal world, those are the kind of fights the Misfits want. We talked about it so much in the early game, but it's very much about this idea of Abadage and the Inax not hitting anyone, while Misfits can just focus their attention on the front line. And if they're able to get more fights like that, then they can bring themselves back into the game. But Schalke, with the Ocean Soul, with the Elder Soul, or Dragon rather, spawning very soon, they're still very much in control of this game.
We are starting to see the first ornaments come out from Misfits. Febby is only level 14, so he's only upgraded 1. It's the Blade of the Ruin King getting upgraded to whatever the upgrade for that item is called. The 2 Blades of the Ruin King.
I don't think that's it, Medic.
Blade of the Lich King? Blade of the Lich King is what we're going to go for.
Okay, nice. Good answer.
I meant, yeah, thanks. Mid lane tower still stands as Misfits look to knock it down. Of course, they used the Rift Herald here earlier, but now that turret will fall. 5,000 gold between the 2 teams. Schalke keeping up a bit of pressure around this Elder. It's up in 13 seconds, but they have some control wards in place. There's only 1 sweeper on Schalke, which makes it a little bit harder for them to clear out vision that Misfits might put down, but they have a lot of control wards in their inventories. Odo still sitting. Fall of the Forge God misses by a mile. Moonlight Vigil's not going to hit us, but Vivian uses the Searing Charge to try and get away. Dream smashing forward, trying to catch out Lords, and they've got one. Hero's entrance comes out from Denik, a little bit too late, a little bit too little here for Misfits. They're forced back, and Schalke still 5 men strong can turn over towards that Elder. Will Misfits look to fight it? You feel they've got to, but all those ultimates are on cooldown.
They've also got a jungler, Medic. The smite is gone. Misfits are going to have some very lucky steal to be able to...
Bebivan has smite. Bebivan has smite. He's got the Unstored Spellbook ready. Here we go. Is this the moment? Is this Febby? Is this Fnatic Febby? Is this 18-0 Febby? He's spotted out by a cat. He doesn't really care too much about that. Elder Dragon resets 6,000 HP on it. That ward in the back of the pit's going to do so much work now. They pull the Elder out of vision. Here goes Febby. There's still 4,000 HP on it. He's very tanky, but he's not tanky enough as Lords jumps forward. Febby trying to do what he can, but he's locked in the pit with all of Schalke, and he has to flash out. And that should be the Elder. It resets once again, but Febby's not going to be able to get in that pit. The Elder Dragon taken here by Schalke. Great stuff by them. And Abadage just jumps. Flipping hell, Abadage just destroys them. He takes the triple. Misfits were not expecting that. Loro's looking for the Sonic Wave. Abadage flashes forward. That's a quadra. Give him 4, give him more. Mezzo runs for the hills because he is all on his lonesome, and Schalke are looking for the win.
Wow, Abadage recognized that, hey, with the Elder Dragon, I can just melt through everyone. I'm level 18. I've got the death cap completed. Perfect play from Abadage. He gets himself the quadrant kill. Schalke looking to upset the apple cart. They will take down Misfits as they push onto the next set.
Schalke trying to prove that they deserve that 4 in their name. Currently sitting at 3 and 11, but it looks like it's going to be Schalke Veer Elf right now because they will take the win and they will take down Misfits.
Very impressive game from Schalke. Clean execution across the board. I think we have to talk a little bit about Febiven's on that game. A lot of ultimates kind of went wide. There may have been communication within the team saying, hey, engage, engage, engage. But then from the team side, I feel like Misfits tried to force a lot of fights that were not optimal for them. I think they should have looked to play a little bit more around the objectives. But you can't take anything away from Lurox in the early game. He was playing around his lanes very well. Like, we talked so much about it. I just think this was such a clean game from Schalke that you just have to give them props. And this is what you want to be seeing from all these players. They want to showcase that they're still LEC caliber. They can still compete against the best. And they want to keep their starting spots moving into summer splits. So overall, very impressive game from Schalke. Huge props to Lorax. I think it was a great game.
Yeah, great stuff all around by Schalke. And I believe that we have our Kia Player of the Game vote in as well. You can join in the vote at LEC on Twitter. It's Lowox, Abadage, and Dreams who are your possible Player of the Game's nominations. And I'm 100% sure who you should vote for there. There's only one guy who dominated the game for Schalke, and it was Lowox.
Yeah, certainly was. I'm excited to see what they're able to pull out tomorrow. Lorax definitely seems a lot more comfortable in the current environment that he's in. And I think the Misfits, back to the drawing board. I thought their draft was fine, but again, like, they lost the 2v2 in the bot lane. They took a very weak early trade, which I think hurt a lot of their early pressure. Of course, the gangplank, they weren't able to find any successful dives in the top lane. I think they did get one kill onto Odoamne, but the gangplank wasn't really still. He had a lot of gold, but when it came to actually executing on those fights, I don't think Misfits were able to pull off what they wanted to do. So, we'll see if they can pick things up against Mad Lions tomorrow, because that's going to be a really important game when it comes to the standings at the end of the split.
All right, games road game later on today is so important for them as well. That's it from us for now, but Lowox will soon give us more on that win. And after that, Fnatic look to continue their dominance against XL Esports.